Hey, what's going on, guys? Princeton Clark here, back with another video in the Mastery series here on YouTube, or you may be listening on the podcast. I've decided to really just commingle the two together, and there'll be other episodes that I do solely for the podcast, but I figured this is the best way to kill two birds with one stone and continue to reach the people that follow on either or platform, for those who want to watch video or for those who want to listen to audio. Thank you to those of you who have started to follow me on YouTube and those who continue to follow me on the podcast. And if you found this because you watched one of my videos on my Instagram at Princeton Clark, guys, wherever you saw this, however you found me, thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for showing up for you. You know, over the past few days since I started doing this Mastery series, I've been talking an awful lot about letting go. I've been talking an awful lot about why that's so important, how to let go of what doesn't serve you, what doesn't deserve you, and how to find the flow in moving towards your goals, walking in your purpose, and operating in your greatness. For those of you who missed the last video, we talked about the power of conscious evolutionary leadership, why it's a challenging path, how to know you've been called into it, and why it's so important, and why this is the path that I chose and why I choose to speak to these types of leaders. And today, I really just want to dive into the process of letting go, giving space, making room for the things that are going to take your life to that next level. I want to dive into how to let go, when to let go, why is it important to let go, and everything having to do with attachment and creating room for the version of you to come forth that you desire to see in the world. You know, when my journey began, as you've heard, if you've listened to me for a while now, I had to let go of a lot of things. I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of self-doubt. I had a lot of programming that led me to believe that it had to be hard, that I needed certain things. There were a lot of areas where I was seeking validation because of things that I had experienced in my life where I didn't truly believe in myself. But I knew that in order to move forward, those thoughts, that state of being did not honor where I wanted to go. I knew that if my spirit had revealed something to me that was possible for me, then the only thing that would stop me from achieving that possibility was me. I knew that if I couldn't change, I would never become the version of myself. If I couldn't let go of the things that were out of alignment with that version of myself, I would never experience it. And so, was it easy? No, it wasn't. It wasn't easy to distance myself from family. It wasn't easy to distance myself from friends and people who I'd known most of my life. It wasn't easy for me to go into that place of solitude. It wasn't easy for me to create space to meditate and journal when I had been playing the victim and I had been living so much on the external that I had to go back within to meet a version of me that I didn't even know. It wasn't easy taking the masks off. It wasn't easy learning to love myself. It wasn't easy learning to be vulnerable. It wasn't easy learning to stand in my power. Because in order for me to do that, it literally felt like I was dying. How many of you can relate to that? It feels like the more you grow at every major pinnacle, at every major shift in your life, it feels like you're dying within. It feels like some aspect of your life is dying. And the truth is, it is. But I want you to imagine, like the phoenix, that from the ashes, as all that stuff is burned away, when you rise as a new version of yourself. Or another analogy that I love is the analogy of the butterfly, the worm, the caterpillar that enters into the cocoon and it's rearranged to take on new form. It transforms and then it breaks free from that cocoon. But if you break it too soon or you break it, the butterfly doesn't develop its wings or the strength in its wings so it can't fly. You know, and so that process is very important in your transformation. And there were those analogies and so many other analogies that I came across that I realized I was growing through the same process. And I realized that it was going to be disorienting. I realized that I was going to have to embrace the suck sometimes. But I also realized I had to change my perspective on the quote unquote suck. And I realized that in order for me to do that, I had to start gaining new wisdom. I had to start getting new information. I had to start getting around other people who were living purposefully. I had to start having new conversations. I had to start creating spaces for me to embrace that new version of myself. I had to start moving into new opportunities that would stretch me and put me in position where I had to learn to spread my wings to break free from the shell of the former man. Now, you may say, well, Princeton, conceptually, I understand that, but I'm at a place now where I've been on this journey for a while. I've been in this relationship for a while. I've been working this job for a while. I'm so used to being where I am in this phase of my life that I don't even know where to begin letting go of things that don't serve me and don't deserve me. And honestly, there is no simple answer for you in that case. The thing is, you have to develop, the thing that I can never give a client is the determination and the will to let those things go. I can't give that to you. That's something you have to want for yourself. Because again, as I said in one of the other videos, when you go back, if you haven't watched all of them, go back, because the way that I'm doing these videos, they're coming as the information is coming to me as I'm meditating and praying and gaining the insights, and things are coming up to share with you guys. I feel like there is a synergy and a method and a strand, if you will, consciously, that's speaking to those of you who are going to watch this whole series. And as I was saying, if you get to this place in your life, I can't give you that. But what I can do is encourage you. As I've said before, if I didn't embrace my own life, if I didn't get to the point where I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of my reality, I wouldn't have changed. And unfortunately, well, I'll say fortunately now, looking at it from a different perspective, it took me trying to end my life for me to start living my life. It took me trying to end my life in order for me to see the value of every moment of my life. And see, for most of us, we don't truly honor our lives. We don't. And we have to be honest about that. When I look at what I subjected myself to, the positions that I put myself in, the people that I put myself around, the conversations or thoughts that I used to entertain that kept me in a victim state or kept me in a lower state of focus, a lower state of flow, a lower state of emotional intelligence, a lower state of awareness. When I look at that and I go back, I realize that even though those things, or letting go of those things rather, was difficult for me, looking at it on the other side and seeing what I was being given the opportunity to become gives me such a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the journey. And for some of you, when you're in the middle of it, it's very hard to see what you're going to be. And this is where I usually have my clients walk through a situation or scenario. I have them close their eyes and I have them imagine the version of themselves that is strong, that is thriving, that has healthy relationships, that is using their voice and addressing things with their power, the version of themselves that is creating healthy boundaries, the version of themselves that can go out with a focused, positive, high level of emotional intelligence and awareness to encounter and engage in the world. Imagine that version of yourself. Imagine how that version of yourself wakes up every single day. Imagine that version of yourself and the types of people they are around. Imagine that version of yourself and the types of conversations they are having. Imagine that version of yourself and the level of self-talk that version of you is having. What is that version of you focusing on? What is that version of you being driven by every single day? What are they doing in their daily habits? We go on and on down the list, and then I have them write all those things out. Write it out as if it's a script of someone else. And then go back and ask this version of you, this personified idea of self, as I say, what must you let go of in order to become that version? What type of self-talk do you have now that doesn't serve you or deserve you? What types of relationships or conversations or states or environments are you putting yourself in that doesn't honor you being that version of yourself? When you start looking at it and breaking it down, asking those questions, you start seeing what to let go of. Now, there's no rhyme or reason to it, but the goal is to get you back to you honoring you. Back to you honoring the possibility of you, the I amness of your potential, the I amness of your power, and the I amness of your purpose. Because it's as you meet that deeper level of self that you will begin to actualize that version of you. If you can see the possibility of that version of you, then that means you can start being the possibility of that version of you right now. But the problem is when we are in a lower state of focus, a lower state of environment, a lower state of conversation, a lower state of awareness in areas of our life, we only focus on what's wrong. We only focus on what we wish we could have. Typically, we're in a state of lack or victimhood. We're waiting for the right moment and the right time to step into the potential. We're waiting for the moment of the right time to exit the situation. And this is why I say there is no rhyme or reason. You simply must make a choice. Every day you wake up, you get a chance and a choice. What you do with it is up to you. Does that mean it's going to be easy? No. Honoring your life in a world where so many don't honor their lives or operate at a high level of awareness, it's very difficult because you will start to stand out. People will start to look at you differently. But understand that as you grow, something that I realized early in my journey was that I had to love not only myself, but those around me who said that they love me enough to keep growing and keep going. And as I always say, even if I got to a point where I outgrew them, which happened many times, at least I could say, here's a rope. If you get ready to grow, I'll pull you up. I'll help you. But I knew that I couldn't operate in my highest sense of self or even in my purpose if I stayed where they were, because I couldn't truly tell them I loved them if I chose to do that. I couldn't truly honor my own life and say that I love myself if I wasn't willing to do that. See, a lot of the times we feel like people are going to judge us, and they will. We feel like people are going to speak down on us, and they will. We feel like we're always going to be reminded of who we used to be, and you will. But that's none of your business. How other people think, how other people perceive you or perceive the world, how they see the version of you now, because of the experience that they have had with you or because of what they have seen you produce, the only idea that they have of you is what they've seen. So until you give them something new to see, again, which is irrelevant for you, but until they see a different version of you and they see the example, they're always only going to see you as that version of you. I still have people in my life who still see me as the version of me that they used to be when they meet me after years. Why? Because in between all that time of growth, of them not seeing me, they still have this idea of who Princeton is. If they don't follow me on social media and say they find me on Facebook and they're just like, wow, like you've really changed. I remember this, and they'll go into old conversations and I'm not even there anymore. And I just, I'm just like, that was me, and I've grown so much, but I'm so grateful for the process. And then it'll go into, how did you get to this point? When did you make this switch? Now, for those who've been along for the ride, a lot of the times they think they still know you, because unless they are experiencing the experience with you, they may be people that are family, but they're not in your everyday life. They don't see the growth. They don't see the work that you're doing. They don't see the process. They don't understand the process because it's not a process that they would take. For people who are more active in your life as you grow, those people still may not see or understand where you are, why you are where you are, where you're going in the process. But again, it's not for them, it's for you. But if they choose to, and the thing is, a lot of people won't choose it. A lot of people would rather see you as the version of you that you were, because if they accept the version of you that you have become, then that will be a mirror to them that they too must change or have the ability to change. And most people don't want to change. Most people are insanely stuck in their own misery, their own comfort zones, and their own reality or personified ideas of self. And they're not willing to go through the ego death. They're not willing to heal. They're not willing to take responsibility. And as I've said before, they're not willing to take a personal accountability and ownership of their life. They would rather just continue to be leaves in the wind, blowing as life blows them and learning as it comes. But trust me when I say, they may not say much as you continue the journey, but your life is still speaking. And there will be those people in your life as you let these things go, as you continue to evolve, that will come back at some point and say, man, I didn't believe you when you said you were going to do this, 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 and this, but you've done it. And that's a beautiful thing when you experience it. But the truth is, what I want to tell you is don't be like me early in my journey, trying to prove to them what you've been called to do. Again, I didn't really have mentors like that early in my journey. And so I had to figure a lot of this out on my own through trial and error. And that's why I share the things that I share, so that you don't have to grow through the years that it took me to realize, wait a minute, I was seeking validation right there. I was seeking approval. I was trying to prove. Ooh, that was ego. I didn't even realize that. See, I don't want you to have to struggle with that. Your only responsibility is to continue to embrace the process. And in order to embrace the newness of the process, you must let go of the old things that hinder progress. And so I want to see you guys begin to evolve. I really want you, if you believe that you've been called to be a conscious evolutionary leader, as I spoke about in the last video, then again, yes, it's a challenging path, but it's one of the most powerful, one of the most rewarding paths you will ever experience, especially if you want to lead a life and lead others into a life of fulfillment and freedom. If you're not willing to let go of the things that keep you bound in order to honor your own freedom, then you'll always be exactly where you are right now. Growth does not happen in comfort. And so in order to move into newness, in order to move into new opportunity, you have to be willing to be uncomfortable. You have to be willing to stretch. Do you think the butterfly in the cocoon is comfortable when it's growing through that process? Do you think that's easy? No, it is a process, but transformation will always be a process. But I have to be realistic. You have to be realistic. If I look at my life and I know that the current reality that I have created or co-created up to this point is not going to get the change, or create the change rather, to get the result that I truly see for myself as that version of me, then I am being given a mirror to see what I must let go of. Now, when you let go of it, it's completely up to you. How fast do you want to grow? How fast do you want to make room for newness? See, I always say time doesn't become an issue until you make it one. I grow so fast now because I've let so much go that at this point, things that would have taken me a long time to get through, there were some things that at one point in my journey, it might have taken me a year to get through it, maybe a little longer. But now, the moment it's revealed to me, it's like, okay, that hinders this, and this. That's going to keep me from experiencing this. Okay, I got to let that go. Now it's just, I can process it from a higher state of awareness because I truly see myself. I understand my power, and I can just let it go. There's no attachment to the idea anymore because ideas don't control my life. My conscious awareness does. And so, see, the more you apply action in this space, the more you apply action in releasing and letting go, the more you make room, the faster you make room for these new opportunities. And so from person to person, it's different because you all determine how fast or how slow you grow. You all determine how fast or how slow you manifest the reality that you want. And everybody's circumstances are different. If you have friends, family, kids, you work a certain job that's really supporting you right now. I mean, I could go down a list of things. And this is what I always say. Let me say this first. Everybody in different circumstances processes and grows at a different rate of speed because we've created realities differently. If I didn't have kids, and I hadn't created a reality where I was married before and I was just a young man who came to this point of awareness, I would have moved a lot faster. I wouldn't have had to deal or grow through, rather, a lot of the things that I had to grow through because of the current reality that I created. If I had gone to school and I had a background, that facilitated a financial foundation and I hadn't been in gangs or sold drugs or did any of those things, I would have been able to create more stability a lot faster in different ways. See, so it's not an equal playing ground as we choose these paths. We come into different experiences. And as I always say, with every one thing that you experience, that you grow through, there's at least 1 million people out there experiencing just one of those things. So what I don't want you to do, if you've created a challenging reality that you have to evolve out of, don't judge yourself or feel like you're less. change the perspective, realize that with every one thing you get to grow out of, what that's done is created more space for you to have more impact, because with every one of those things, there's at least 1 million people you can reach. So I used to think my life was cursed. You know, I used to be like, some people go through this, go through this, go through this, go through this. But I've gone through all these things, and I literally thought my life was cursed until my life changed and I realized what a blessing I had been given. When I realized what an honor I had been given, because the spirit in me was strong enough to make it through that, to get to that point of awakening and awareness and spiritual growth that allowed me to now become a tool that could be used through my life to bring more light to the world. So if you've experienced a lot of challenge, understand the greater the challenge, the greater the impact, the greater the challenge, the greater the purpose. Now, to whom much again, to whom much is given, much is required. But the process of letting go is an honorable one, not an easy one. I personally believe that my spirit knew everything that I would grow through in this life. I personally believe that. I've literally had moments where they have the deja vu moments where it's like, I've seen this before. Part of me has seen this before. I've experienced it. I've had it so in detail that I could tell you what was going to happen next. I've literally had visions of things happening in my life a month and even years before it happened. I used to have this one vision before I ever started speaking of seeing, I would have this dream rather. It was a dream. It wasn't necessarily a vision, awakening vision. I would dream this dream all the time where I would see this man speaking in front of large groups of people and people would be emotional. They would be crying. And one day, while I'm getting ready in the mirror, adjusting my tie, I realized that the man that I used to dream about was me. And so I've had all these experiences, whether you believe in that or not, it's irrelevant to me because you're not me. But I started to realize that spiritually, I am a universal being. I am an eternal being. There is no ending to energy, to spirit. And so there's a part of me that's connected to all things, as the I am is, so I am. In oneness with all things. That means I am too connected to the past. I'm connected to the future. I'm connected to all the different frequencies and experiences of this life. The more aware I become, the more attuned that I become, the more gifts I unlock, the more that is revealed. And so, I believe that my spirit already knows the beginning and end of my life. I just get the opportunity, the blessed opportunity to experience it in this life. And sometimes I feel like I've lived multiple lives in one life, and I've gotten to be different versions of Princeton that I present to the world, because I always say Princeton is just an idea. What I am is so much greater than this idea of Princeton that everybody sees. And everybody has an idea of who and what Princeton is. But I am simply a spirit on a journey having a human experience that I get to experiment and experience this thing we call life through. And so I've gotten to be different versions of Princeton in different essences of my life and different relationships as I've grown and evolved. I've gone through the cocooning process so many times, and I've shed the old so many times that for me now, it's just a process. It's literally, I breeze through it. I flow through it. And it's just such a beautiful place to be. And this is where I try to lead my coaching clients through and to, because honestly, the faster you learn to apply this stuff, become more aware of this stuff, and truly believe it at a core level to where your subconscious aligns with it, the less you have to war with, the less you feel held back by. And it's a powerful state to be in, guys. And so in order to let go, or rather in order to step into this powerful state, you have to be willing to let go. And again, you decide how fast that is. You may have to start having some very real conversations. But again, set your face as stone. As I said in one of the last videos, set your face as stone. This is what I am. This is what I am called into. This is the purpose for my life. This is what I will manifest. This is what I've been called to create, and I am bringing it into experience. I am bringing it into reality, whether you see it or not. This is what it's calling you into. Have those conversations, and you got to be willing to honor the journey that you're on. Get around someone who can speak to that in you, pull it out of you, and ignite the inspiration and power in you. You were not created to take this journey alone. You were not created to simply go through the motions and consciously drag your feet. You were not created to just always go through the motions and play the victim and stay stuck or stagnant. You were created to thrive. You were created to be fruitful and multiply. You were created to expand and evolve. And that's what I want to help my clients do. That's what I want to help you do. But you have to be willing to let go of the old. You have to be willing to have the hard conversations. You have to be willing to separate yourself from those environments. So how do you do that? As far as growing out of your environment, again, reverse engineer the version of you, what they're doing, how they're showing up, how they're communicating, how they start their day, what are their habits. Write a vision of what that looks like. Write a script for that person, an idea of who they are. What are their core values? And then look at the version of you and ask yourself, what must I bring from this person into this version or idea of self that I have in order to create that reality? What must I let go of? What conversations must I stop entertaining? What environments must I stop going in? What new habits must be created in order for me to manifest that? And I'm going to tell you, in the beginning, it's going to be very hard to discipline yourself because you don't have the mental program or awareness to do it. So there's going to be days where you're going to be consistent, and there's going to be some time where you fall off unless you hire a coach or a mentor that can keep you on track, that's going to hold you accountable. When someone hires a coach or a mentor, they know that that person is taking the path and that that person knows exactly what they need to do. And they're going to push them beyond what they are aware of because they see where they are lacking or where they have blind spots. And so they hire them to get them to the destination or to get them into condition faster than they could on their own. But these are things you can start doing. First, you got to get clear to where you want to go and what is required for where you want to go. And you can start doing this again, as I said, by writing these things out. That version of you compared to this version of you. What do I need to take from this version of me? Or what does that version of me speak to me right now that I can start applying right now? And then again, write out your goals. And I always teach when you're writing out your goals, don't just write the goal down. I want to make more money. I want to get a house. I want whatever it is, those are superficial things, but I'm just using that as an example. Don't just write the goal out. Write out the steps to achieving each goal. This is going to give you a compass and a direction, because once I just look at a goal, I can still be confused with how to achieve that goal. But if I take time to do my research, to study, to look at the habits I must develop, understand the actions I must take, and then I write each one of those out, then each day, each week, each month, each year, now I have something to measure my growth off of. I can go back and look and say, okay, I got to get this done within this frame of time. Okay, then I got to take this action. Then I got to take this action. Okay, now I'm here. Okay, so the next step is this, and this. Okay, perfect. That's how I complete that goal. A lot of people just write a goal, but they can't see the way to achieve that goal. They may be able to conceptualize the possibility of that goal without understanding the steps. But if you don't understand the steps, you haven't gotten clear on the steps based on where you are in your journey, not based on what somebody else did, because everybody's path is different. So if you're basing your goals and how to achieve certain goals off of someone, for instance, if I were to go to a mentor who didn't have kids, who didn't have any other responsibilities, and they were just single and they only had themselves, they hadn't had a serious relationship, they didn't know how to process through communication, they didn't understand the challenges that I was facing, then guess what? I can't really follow the path and the goals that they give me because we don't align. So find someone who has been where you are, who can speak to where you are, and who understands what is going to be required of you, because only they are going to be able to empathize with where you are in your journey as a conscious leader. Anybody who hasn't been there, as I always say, you can't take somebody somewhere you've never been. And see, this is what's happening with a lot of people. They're so inspired in the beginning and they're just ready to go. And then you just start hiring people because they call themselves a coach in whatever space they call themselves a coach in or a mentor in. And then you're taking advice from people who've never even been where you are. And then you're wondering, why can they get the results, but I'm not? It's because you're trying to operate based on a level of responsiveness that's not connected or that can't be integrated into your life because the path has been different. And so these are things we got to start paying attention to, people. But again, get clear on your goals, the steps to achieving the goals. If you don't know, reach out and ask. One thing that I was never afraid to do in my journey, again, as I said in one of the first episodes, because I knew what I didn't know, I wasn't too proud or in my ego to say, can you show me? I wasn't too proud to say, hey, I'm struggling in this area. This is where I am. Nowadays, everybody's putting on this proud mask like I'm here to do this and I'm going to do these great things, to the point where they've put all this vanity out on social media, this idea, this highlight reel on social media that doesn't align with where they really are. And so they're ashamed to ask for help. They're ashamed to say, I'm not really where I say I am, and I've just been putting this out there because I'm trying to manifest it and I only want to focus on that. But this is what I always say, you can't fake it to make it. And you guys have heard me say that before if you watched other videos. You can't fake it till you make it. You got to be it and work through it until you become it. Be honest. Because if you're doing that, you're out of integrity with yourself. I have no problem saying, I'm struggling in this area right now. I know what I see, but can I just have a conversation with you? Can I hire you for even just an hour just to get this stuff out of me? Because I can't see what I can't see. I only know what I know right now. And as long as you keep ignoring that, that's what you're only going to stay stuck. That's why the illusion of being stuck stays on us for so long, because we don't really want to acknowledge where we are. And as a result of not acknowledging where we are, we don't know what to let go of in order to step into something new. Or even if we know what to step into, we can't step into it because we're still holding on to this idea that it's not really a problem. Stop being so dang positive all the time and understand that being positive doesn't always mean putting on a good face. It's okay not to be okay sometimes. And when you can accept that I'm not okay in this current state, I'm not okay in what I've been putting my attention on, I'm not okay in the conversations I've been having, I'm not okay emotionally right now, that's when you can start looking at why. That's when you can truly start seeking guidance. But a lot of people just try to put on the mask like, I'm strong, I can do it by myself. All right, take it from someone who didn't have mentorship, who didn't know any better, who did that, and it elongated my process. But I gained a lot of wisdom as a result of growing through it, and that's why you get the information that you get today, because I know the steps. I know the steps, and I can help you expedite the growth if you'll just do it. Trust the process, people. Be vulnerable, be open, love yourself enough to let go of the ego. Let go of, let me say it this way, let go of the unhealthy ego, because we need ego. I need ego to believe that it's possible. I need ego to believe that I am worthy. I need ego to believe, but that's a healthy ego. An unhealthy ego is usurping me, my, I over someone else, not ownership. I am. Healthy ego flows from the I am state, not the egoic I am state, but the conscious I am state, understanding that it's connected to all things, so it's empowered by all things to create and manifest every aspect of what has been revealed. That's a healthy ego. An egoic ego is surface-driven, mask-driven, projection-driven, and it's very unhealthy. I could go through a list of all the aspects of an unhealthy ego, but you guys get what I'm saying. You are worth so much more. When you start realizing that, as I've said before, that's when things will begin to change. But I wanted to challenge you guys in this video today. Look at where you are. Write out a script. Take some time. What does the version of you that you believe you have the ability to be, what do they look like? How are they showing up? How are they communicating? What are their habits? How do they feel each day? How do they dress? What is their temperament like? What are they focused on? Just go down the list. Allow your imagination to open up and ask yourself, what would a fulfilling, free version of me and my life look like? And how would I be living in that life? And try to be as specific as possible in detail. What would that version of you have to grow out of or let go of in order to be that version of them? And then from there, start setting goals. Now, again, you can do this as fast or as slow as you want, but really what it boils down to is your level of determination, your level of grit, your level of self-love, your level of self-confidence, your level of self-awareness. But if you've still watched this video all the way through, then I know that your soul is crying out right now. It's seeking and it knows it's time. But will you accept the call to step into it in the now? Do you believe that you're worthy? Or are you still struggling with subconscious thoughts that you can't quite put your finger on, that keep you up at night? Are you still struggling with focusing on the past and what didn't work out and how things didn't happen and how people didn't help you? Are you still in a place where you're still comparing yourself to other people and other people's circumstances and what other people can do? But, I feel like it's so hard for me. Are you still stuck in a little version of you being personified into your life? Have you been on the journey for a while and you've been doing the work that you know to do, but you're still struggling to be consistent? Then that means you're still holding on to something that must be released. And when you can learn to lean into the release, when you can learn to detach from the things that, again, are not in flow for you, that don't serve you becoming the version of you that you can see, if you don't let those things go and if you don't detach, you're never going to see that person. When you are consistent and you're in flow and you're in alignment and the vision is clear, notice how you feel in your body or how you have felt in your body during those times. How connected you felt, how strong you felt, how aware you felt. The more aware you become, the more you let go of, the more you allow yourself to embody the true power, potential, and purpose that you are, the more consistently you're going to begin to feel that. And so I want to issue that challenge. Get clear. Write the script. You are the author, the producer, and the main actor in your movie. You are also the director. You are always the main character. Everybody else is an extra until they choose to be a co-lead in co-creating the reality with you. You get to determine the script. So get clear. Who is that character? Who is that version of you that's operating in conscious leadership, in power, in healthy relationships, in setting boundaries, in achieving goals? Who's operating and creating difference and change in the world, starting with your own world? Who is that version of you? How does he communicate? How does he or she think? How do they operate? Write it out. Don't just think about it. Write it out. And when you start getting confused again, come back and read it. And there's going to be moments when you do that you're going to see something else and you can write it out again. And it's going to expand. The more you grow, the more it expands. But you got to be willing to do that work. Write the vision. Get clear on it. Make it so clear that you can run it with precision. And as you grow, continue to write it. Let it expand. And if this is an area where you need assistance, reach out to me at PrincetonClark.com. I'd love to help you. But you have to be willing to see yourself as an investment. I don't just give my time to just anyone. And I had a guy mention to me, and I've had several people say, well, if you love people so much, why do you charge? Well, I don't live in a free society. It wasn't free for me to invest in all the books. It wasn't free for me to go to the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of seminars and education and everything that I went through. It wasn't free for me to go through the long nights of blood, sweat, and tears and frustration and anger to overcome all those things by myself in a lot of areas. And just to get to this point, it cost me something. But because I stayed diligent, I gained the insight, I gained the wisdom. What I'm now able to do is turn decades into days for you. But are you willing to accept the call? Maybe you say no. Well, don't worry about it. For now, I also have 2 books, and I've been talking about the 2 books. I'll drop the links in the bio. Awakening Your Inner Master, The Journey of Self-Mastery, my best-selling book, and Also, The Warrior of Love, Speaker of Truth, Decade Anthology. Both of them are on Amazon, and I'll be adding them in a link here. And also, if you go to my website and you scroll down to resources, there's also an inspirational album that you can listen to on iTunes, Spotify, where it's just me talking over music. And the album is called A Time to Rise. And there's other resources, guys. I have a podcast. I have a blog. And I actually need to add more stuff to my blog. But I have a blog, and it has quite a bit on it so far. But the podcast is also available. You can actually, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, you can actually go to the podcast section on my channel, and you can listen to it directly from here. Or you can go to any major streaming platform, and you can listen to the podcast starting from the beginning and listening all the way through. So I have something for those who are ready to invest in themselves, and I also have things that for people who may not have the money to invest in themselves, so that they can start taking the steps to get to the point where if they still need the direction and the assistance, they see the value of what they've gotten, what they can get, and then they choose to invest. They choose to decide what level of commitment they want to give in order to have access to over 2 decades of wisdom, to get rid of the guesswork, to get rid of the wondering, and to not struggle through it on their own. But that's up to you. But anyway, guys, that's all I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Let go. Let go of attachment to all the things that don't deserve you. Let go of all the things that are not in alignment with what you know you've been called to do. You are a powerful leader. You know that you've been called into this. You know that you have purpose. You are worthy. You deserve it. But you have to believe it to such a degree that you show up in it. If you know that you've been called to do something amazing, something powerful, you know that you've been called to create change in the world, then until you be the change, you'll never see the change. So let's step into it. Let's own it. Let's honor it. And if you guys need to reach out to me, I'd love to hear your comments. I'd love to receive messages from you if you reach out to me. Again, all my social links, if you go to my website, again, at PrincetonClark.com, you will see all my links. You can just click and go to each one of my channels, follow me all over the place. And you can reach out to me directly, ask questions. And if there's something you'd like to understand more about, maybe I'll create some content around it. But stay connected, subscribe, like, share, and I'll be talking to you guys again soon.